Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Coast to Coast podcast. It's Monday. It's right around 10 o'clock Eastern time if you're out there on the East Coast, obviously. This is going to be pretty close to our normal recording hour. So again, that's Mondays, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock if you're in the Midwest like me, 7 o'clock if you're out on the West Coast. But again, this is Mondays. Joined as usual and as always by cousin Phil. Eric is here as well. And we have special returning guest, actually, Cowboys super fan, Dave Gage. Dave, thanks for joining us here. But we got a lot of good topics to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about youth sports. Obviously, we got two baseball guys in the show, so we will talk some baseball and we'll get into some of the latest NFL stuff. So again, this is the Coast to Coast podcast, and thank you for joining us.
Thinks the earth is flat. So it never sat well with me.
Do you want a company that refuses to use your call box?
Or have to be patient? I don't understand why Chelsea gave him the tax so quickly.
You want to know who's the cheap shot spread? Christian Laettner. You want to know who everybody talks about? Christian Laettner. You want to know who's one of the best basketball players ever in college? Christian Laettner.
What a good picture right at the end there, Eric.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Never change it. Never change it.
Next week's is going to have a couple surprises, and I'm gonna mix it up a little bit right off the bat. All right, Dave, thanks for joining us. If you didn't tune into, I have no idea when the last episode you were on was, but if you didn't tune into that, Dave is the head baseball coach at Stevenson University. I had the pleasure of playing with Dave and also actually 1 year playing under him. Eric, obviously teammate of mine as well, and teammate of Dave's as well. Dave, before we begin here, obviously baseball season at the college level is heating up. I mean, are you excited about this year? You know, how's it been with COVID and everything?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me back on. Looking forward to talking about the Cowboys. You know, we're 0-0. Super Bowl 2021 is on. Typical Cowboys fan, you know. But we've been practicing here for a couple of weeks. Really excited about our group, and obviously the greatest thing about sports is hope. But you know, we're looking forward to what we have. This is my fourth year, so pretty excited about this season.
Let me ask you this, and I apologize. I didn't even prep you for any of these questions, but it's kind of coming to my mind as, you know, we had one of our first practices today up here. Where does this season rank for you in your career in terms of challenges with some of the adjustments we're kind of having to make on the fly here?
Yeah, I think since last March, you know, it's been a totally different job of keeping our kids here. And then, you know, now there's certain days where I feel like I'm the 6 feet police, and I tell our guys space out and, you know, make sure your mask is on properly. Our guys do a good job with it, but, you know, and then conversations happen and they move closer together. And so some days
you feel like a chaperone at a Christian school dance where you're like, no, separate.
Absolutely. Like it's constant. I mean, I'm talking to the second baseman about double plays, and I look over and our two pitchers are standing around, you know, next to each other and giving high fives, and I'm like, you can't do that. So
if you let kids get to second base at a Christian dance, they'll burn the building down. It's like, this is desecrated. It's like, no, it's a place of sin now. I can't go in.
But yeah, I mean, definitely some challenges, but you know what? It beats last April, right? It beats it beats what we were all doing sitting on the couch. So
they're still trying to hold a national championship for baseball right now, right?
Yeah, and I think it, you know, hopefully it can be done. You know, obviously being a sport that naturally socially distance, and, you know, the logistical stuff of busing is pretty difficult, and how we're doing things on the road. But we can definitely do it, and we're pretty excited about it. I mean, the NCAA made a couple adjustments, but obviously we need to get to the national championship in Division I basketball, or else nothing happens, because we all know that that's the money maker. So, you know, we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Shout out to Keegan. Fire comment right there. All right, let's dive into the NFL right here. Since we last talked, obviously Carson Wentz is on the move, which I think, as we all knew. And I guess I'm going to start with you, Eric, here, because you had some interesting comments beforehand. If you live under a rock, Carson Wentz has been traded to the Colts. One of the biggest losers in that trade is Jacoby Brissett. Went from starter to backup, and now still a backup. But Is Carson Wentz going to revive his career in Indianapolis?
Yeah, I think if you don't know, Frank Reich was with the Eagles when Wentz should have had that MVP season, and they went on to win the Super Bowl, obviously before, after he got hurt. But I think as a player, when you're comfortable playing for somebody and there's a lot of good memories and good vibes and things, I mean, I was a huge Carson Wentz supporter, going into this season, even halfway through it, huge. So I think he's going to go to Indianapolis, and I think he's going to kill it. I mean, he's got a great team around him. He's got young wide receivers. He has a defense. Obviously, the coach knows what he's doing. However, if he does struggle, it's going to all be on him now. So say the Eagles don't get rid of him. There would have always been that he's in Philadelphia. He's under full shadow, the statue that we've talked about. But now he's going to a guy that he's won with. He's been successful. And if he struggles again, I think you're going to find it hard to believe that nobody doesn't blame him, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't think he was a very good teammate. I don't think guys in Philly liked playing for him. I think Doug Peterson over the last year and a half before they finally benched him was under, basically had a fire extinguisher and was just trying to put fires out with him the whole time.
Like everything you're saying right now, though, makes me think he's going to completely fail in Indianapolis.
Does the water there make your bones stronger, or is that just going to make him not injury prone? He's brittle.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's definitely he definitely gets hurt a lot. But I mean, last year when they made the playoffs, it was a fluke injury. Jadeveon Clowney throws a helmet in, and if that's Tom Brady, Clowney's probably thrown in jail, to be completely honest with you. But
as he should
Carson
be.
Wentz,
Correct.
It's not even a 15-yard penalty, and they lose 17-9 with. I don't even know what McCown or whatever. I think he's coaching girls basketball or something.
He's still the Eagles' backup.
Killing it. And they're killing it.
It's just, but that's my point. Yeah, he's still the Eagles' backup. Great. I'm happy Wentz is gone. I think it's clear the air. I'm not saying the Eagles are going to be very good over the next couple of years. I'm not even a believer in Jalen Hurts, but I think by getting him out of there, I'm a little nervous because we have a coach that hasn't quite figured out the public speaking. I don't think he took that course in college. He struggled with the public speaking. But as far as the quarterback side goes, I think we might be on the right track. No, that fired me up. No, it didn't. I turned it after the first 30 seconds.
Oh my God. I mean, so it sounds like you're confident that Carson Wentz can revive things. I got to be honest. I could not be more polar opposite from you. And I think you're spot on that guys didn't like playing for him. And I think it's a little concerning when I don't think he's even officially a Colt yet. And he's already losing battles here. I mean, it came out today that Michael Pittman is refusing to give up his number 11 jersey. That's got to be a bad sign right there.
To be fair, Michael Pittman's been in this league a while.
Yeah, but isn't that the point though of who Carson Wentz is? I mean, don't you go into Indianapolis and go, is a number really that big of a deal? I mean, that's what you're gonna why would you give it up? Who gives a shit? You weren't any good enough.
It'll be hilarious if Carson Wentz doesn't want to throw him the ball because he doesn't have his number.
Did Zach Ertz get traded to the Colts?
No.
Then nobody gets the ball because Zach Ertz is going to get the ball in Philadelphia.
Oh man.
Well, every other Eagles receiver drops the ball, so it doesn't really matter.
That's true.
Unless you're the guy that bags groceries and gets picked up, then you're
I do not have faith in Carson Wentz. 1, because he's brittle. 2, because of his leadership, and 3, even with the Colts, is he better than Andrew Luck? No. So what are they going to be? Maybe a fringe playoff team that loses in the first round if he can stay healthy for a whole year, which is unlikely. And he was terrible this last year. Granted, the Eagles were terrible, but if he comes to returns to form and they go win 10 or 11 games, I won't be shocked. But if he goes there and they win, if they're 8-8 or 4-12, I'm not going to be shocked either, because that's the Carson Wentz experience. And I don't know. I'm just kind of writing him off, and he can, maybe he'll surprise us. Maybe he'll return to his former glory. But if Vegas has lines for it, they worked into his contract, the clause, he has to play a certain amount of games for a second rounder, turn it into a first rounder. So they're betting. They're no, he's not going to play that many games. They're please give us insurance because we know this guy's brittle. I don't see that often. So no.
sticking with the Eagles here. So are you excited with your current quarterback situation now? Like, do you think Hurts is like going to lead you to the promised land at all?
No, we don't have a quarterback. No, we don't. Zero quarterbacks.
Actually, here's a
on the
question.
roster.
What land would you describe Jalen Hurts delivering you to? Like, where is he taking you? Is he taking you like the
They
desert?
said there's a quarterback battle. What quarter? He's the only functional quarterback on the team. So number one, how's that a battle? Number two, Jalen Hurts got benched to Alabama like 15 times, and then like Tua would get hurt. Imagine that, and then he'd come back in, and then he went to Oklahoma where they play zero defense in the Big 12. I don't care who. Like, watch the Big 12. Bet on the Big 12. Take the over. Nobody plays defense. So Jalen Hurts goes and is a Heisman runner-up or whatever. He's going to get killed. They don't have an offensive line. They stink.
Hang on. Is Gary watching?
I believe
Gary.
I believe
Shout
Gary's
out to
on.
Gary. Okay.
Yeah. We're actually going to touch on that one later. All right, let's move it over here, Dave. Last time again, we got to talk a little bit at the Cowboys, and before we started here, we were talking a little bit about your quarterback situation. Do you want Jerry Jones to open his wallet right now for Dak Prescott?
For Deshaun Watson, yeah. For
Same state.
Internet connection troubles. My bad. Russell Wilson, yeah, sure, we'll trade him. I don't know. I mean, I said it last time. Is $40 million for Dak Prescott? Everyone forgets Cowboys were 1-5 with Dak as a starting quarterback this year. Like, it isn't a quarterback issue, and obviously Andy Dalton is not Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott is better than he's a top half of the league. Some people say top 5, some people say top 15.
Some people drink too much.
Yeah. I mean, he's not awful. Like, he's going to get us in the playoffs. Is he going to win a Super Bowl? No. But there's $40 million. Let's spend it on a defense.
Who's closer to winning a Super Bowl right now, the Eagles or the Cowboys?
Neither.
Trick question.
It's like
that's abysmal. One other thing I wanted to ask you about, because I'm not privileged or cursed or burdened. I don't know what the correct word is here. Maybe burdened.
Greg, you got to be careful being middle-aged white guy saying he's not privileged. You can't have that.
Poor wording choice, but I don't get to be around, or I don't have to be around. I guess that's why I should have worded it. Cowboys fans very often. Can you just give me your thoughts on Jerry Jones? I mean, he's one of the most. I don't know 30 NFL owners or 31, however many teams there are. Everyone knows who Jerry Jones is. There's people that have probably never watched a professional football game in their life, and they know that Jerry Jones is the owner of the Cowboys. Does he hurt or help this team?
He hurts them, but that's what Jerry Jones wants. If the Cowboys go 8-8 forever, the Cowboys are the only 8-8 team. They're the only, what were they this year? 6-10 team talked about every weekend on ESPN
and on national television.
Yeah, every weekend. You can't turn on an NFL show on Sunday morning without talking about the Cowboys, and they had 3 wins for more than half the season. So that's what Jerry Jones wants. I mean, he doesn't care if they win the Super Bowl. He might say he does, but he hurts them.
You really don't think he cares?
I think Robert Kraft cares more than I think Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones cares about his dollars and cents.
Yeah, but Jerry Jones' legacy's already done. Like, Jerry Jones won all those Super Bowls in the 90s and stuff. Like, he's going to go down as one of the best owners ever. So now, like you said, get the rating, line the pocket, and be talked about forever. Like, he's living it.
He's a Hall of Famer.
It makes sense, because when I'm that old and I'm at the brink of death at the end of my life, what I want is more billions, because I might run out of money. I mean, that's where my focus should be. Like, it's unreal. He's got to be. I think he is concerned. I think he does want to win another championship. I think he does think about that. That is what he wants. Yeah, he loves to be talked about because he's a billionaire, so they're all narcissistic and they love to hear people say their name. But he wants another title really bad. And I think he's probably going to pay Dak and do what best he can to give himself a shot at it before he dies, because, he's going to turn into Carson Wentz soon and he's going to be real brittle eventually.
But if he wanted another championship, Dave, I might be wrong because I really haven't talked to you about the coaching hire. If he wanted another championship, do you hire Mike McCarthy? Is that the guy
he's proven over the last 20 plus years he's not good at his job. He's like, Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. He had Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't think it's a thing of like, yeah, I got to go. I think he thought I'm going out and getting one of the best. And Dave, as you can probably attest, you're probably really sick of that hire already.
Yeah, he's terrible. All right, so
wow, coming up on shots fired.
All right, me saying that Jerry Jones doesn't want to win a Super Bowl is wrong. Jerry Jones doesn't know how to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like everybody in sports wants to win, but he doesn't know how to. So yeah, exactly. Like I don't know. Mike McCarthy was the easy. You had Urban Meyer out there. I mean, you had so many great hires out there. I mean, you know, and you hire that guy. So I don't know.
All right, let's talk about J.J. Watt a little bit here. As he came out today or it was yesterday, I don't know, but he kind of was talking about he was going to take his time coming to a decision up here. If you had to guess right now, if you had to put money down, where do you think he's going to end up? And up here, of course, you guys already know what I hear when it comes to J.J. Watt. And I'll just give this individual another shout out here who was on our show, I think 2 months ago. But yeah, I mean, where do you guys think J.J. Watt's going to end up?
Phil, go ahead.
Where do I think or where do I want him to? I want him to end up on the Pats.
Well, yeah, I want that too. We all want that.
But I think
I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think enough players think we can win right now.
Yeah, I think, again, people took for granted Tom Brady and the Bill Belichick Tom Brady argument because they're like, you know, people are signing not just to play with Bill Belichick. They're signing to play with Tom Brady, as we've seen. When he went to the Bucs, people want to play with Tom Brady. So I don't know if the Pats can get someone with J.J. Watt that wants to have a shot at a title. So that puts them in contention with, you'd have to take of title teams. Like, and the Pack actually sounds like a reasonable, logical location for him to go. And then he should go to the Bucs if he wants to win. As we've just seen, but he can go to the Packers and then be disappointed in the AFC Conference Champion Finals, or the first round. Sorry, Pack fans.
Yeah. Would you really go sign in the cold?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, does he want? I mean, his body's already broken down. Like, does he want to go play in 30-degree weather for 6-7 games at the end of the year? It's got to be indoors or south.
Yeah, I think he's going.
Can the Bucs afford him?
I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams don't have any money. The Seahawks should make a move for him, but
I know Mike Evans said he would be willing to restructure his contract to keep guys. I'm assuming the same principle applies to bring in someone to help them repeat as well.
Yeah.
I could see him if he goes to a colder weather team, it would have to be almost a guarantee like a Chiefs or like a Buffalo. Yeah. You know, like, hey, I know
how do the Packers not fall into that realm though? I mean, they've been to the NFC Championship the past 2 years now. Like, they're under Aaron Rodgers minus a couple of blips and injuries. They've always been in the mix and in the conversation.
So let's see. So it's got to be Packers, Chiefs, Bills.
I can't believe I just said that.
Anyone in the NFC West.
What about going to play with his brothers or the Steelers?
Oh,
both his brothers play for Pittsburgh.
I could see that. That'd be
fun. Does anyone think the Steelers are going to be a contender though? Their quarterback situation's a mess right now. They're basically trying to.
Dwayne Haskins.
Greg, don't talk about one of the worst 11 win teams to start the season.
Everyone was calling it that the Steelers were frauds and just not going to make it. All right, so I'd say the consensus this year is that there's really no one really knows where J.J. Watt's going to end up.
I think J.J. Watt even said, because I was looking, he said, give me a second to choose a team in a city. Like, he is trying to process leaving the Texans. He was a loyal person like the team, and he's in this position where he's trying to figure it out. So I think all of us guessing is just putting the cart before the horse. Let's just wait for JJ to enjoy this time where he knows he's not going to be on the Texans, because God knows you should enjoy it. Just celebrate that. That's right. Just revel in that. And then, he's going to come back. He's going to make he's a smart guy. He's going to make the decision that's best for him, and whatever it is, it's probably going to make sense.
All right. Moving along here from the NFL, we're gonna start moving into a little bit of a discussion here about youth sports in the United States. But first, we have a new segment that we debuted 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, I don't remember. And it's kind of where we invite social media to share with us their worst version of whatever prompt I chose. This week's prompt is share with us your worst story that is a parent/coach experience. And I know I know a couple that might qualify for some people on here. Actually, for all three, to be honest. I'm gonna. Who wants to go first here?
Oh, dibs.
By all means.
So, yeah, I was going through because there's a few to choose from, and I wanted to make sure I picked the right one because last time I shared a story after the share yours, and Craig and Eric were really upset I didn't share that, and I probably should have. I almost shared that this time to make up for it. But I have one. We were in it was my freshman year. I was on the freshman basketball team, and I don't know what it was, but the coach was like really mad at us because I don't know if we were goofing off or weren't taking things seriously, and so he had us running lines, like just back and forth, up and down the court. And then we're exhausted. We sit down and he goes, this is terrible. We almost called CPS. He goes, you guys make me so mad. I want to go home and beat my 1.5-year-old. And then it was just dead silence. And he realized what he just said. And he's like, but I don't.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Mr. Thomas, whoa. So, we're all like 15-year-old kids and like pretty terrified at this moment. But even the assistant coach is like doing the Homer Simpson, like back into the bush type of thing. Just getting out of here. So that's the worst experience I have of worrying for the safety of a 1.5-year-old from my coach.
Jesus,
that's not good.
So
I've got a bunch of players I think listening tonight, or I know they're going to listen. So shout out to the Seacoast Pirates kids out there listening. We appreciate the support. So I'm not going to go into the many stories that I could go into. However, there was a gentleman that when I first was hired here, I'm not a big fan of parents being at practices and stuff. And I'm not a big fan of parents kind of, Johnny looks over his shoulder to see what mom or dad say and everything. So I've always taken it personal. However, there was this one gentleman, and the young man's not in the program anymore, but I'm going to leave him nameless, that would literally at our facilities, and I know Dave and Greg have been there, so you walk onto the turf field and they have nets around them to, protect the actual viewers, whether it's soccer, baseball, field hockey, whatever it may be. And the guy, if my hand is the net, would put his nose directly in the net while watching practice, and the kid played for me. So every time this guy was there, I probably paid attention to this guy more than I paid attention to like actually running my defensive session. And every time I saw his nose like stick through the net, I would fire a fungo. Like I would take an absolute rip and I'd hit a fungo in a baseball, just a line drive into the net within like a 5-6 foot radius. The best part about it is the guy was a real trooper because he would never say anything. He would just back up gradually and then slowly after 5 minutes, like start creeping away, and I'd fire another fungo at him. He was part of the program for 3 years, and for 3 years we played this little game with each other. So if he's on this, hopefully he understands and knows who it is and everything. And I would love to ask him like what his thought process was.
I'll let you go, Dave. I'm gonna use mine to kind of lead us into our next topic.
Yeah, I could do a whole segment on my coaching stories. So
you have to keep it anonymous at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I think the best one is had a family where coach the older brother graduates. Parents come up to me, tell me that I'm the greatest coach of all time. How much I saved kids' life, XYZ. Year later, coach. Another family member didn't work out the same. Kid didn't play as much, and decided to sort of split ways. It was just best for the kid. It was best for the program at the time, and family didn't think I was the greatest coach anymore, and had threats of texts and and a lot of different other avenues of that. So it's funny how people's opinions of you change based on playing time and what you do for them.
I remember that. And the threats Dave is, I can attest for this, is putting it mildly, I'd say. You're being professional about it. You're letting them off the hook in a major way. Sure. But yeah. So I chose my story kind of based on, I want to talk about, obviously, we're going to talk about youth sports in the U.S. Everyone knows it's a booming industry at this point. But there's one kind of subtopic in there, and it's kind of I guess I would say entitlement of sometime players, parents, whatever. And so maybe you'll kind of understand what I'm saying when I tell this story. So my final year at my last place, I did not have my best year coaching. I made a lot of mistakes. I'll say that. But I was also going through something. So the summer before I coached my final year at my last place, my mom got diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, extremely rare. As soon as you get diagnosed with it, it's like, that's it. Maybe 6 months, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. So obviously I wasn't myself, but kind of going through that, coaching through that season, I thought I had it all under control, if that makes sense. Like, you think you're making the right decisions. You think you're seeing everything with clear eyes. You think you're not distracted. And now that I'm 2-3 years removed from this, I kind of look at some of the decisions I made and I was like, whoa, I was not thinking clearly. Like, I would have done this differently. I would have done that differently. Anyways, year was a disaster. We had some talent. We were definitely more talented than our record. We got off to a terrible start, lost a lot of close games that we should have won. And within the attitudes and kind of some things that spiraled out of there, that's when I wasn't decisive, which I think I normally am. And I kind of attribute that to just not facing some of the problems I kind of thought might have existed. But I just kind of, again, I was not in my right mindset. I can confidently say that now. Anyways, that's obviously not my story. One of the last games of the year, we're playing down in Boston. And everyone knows I'm going through this, by the way. And my stepdad drove my mom up to watch this game. Again, at this point, we don't know if it's weeks. I mean, it could be any day at this point. My mom was a hiker. Even at age of 70, she could walk 5 miles. She could hike 10 miles, whatever, in phenomenal shape. She's in a wheelchair at this point. Can't walk, can't stand on her own. It's just heartbreaking for me personally. And I know that this is a game that's at the end of our season. So I literally know that this is going to be the last time she sees me coaching alive, which kind of a big deal. Game ends. We played like crap. And I get off the field. I say hi to my mom. We got a 4-hour bus ride back and everything. And a couple people start coming up to me and they say, "Oh, did you hear what so-and-so's dad was saying about you?" And I was like, "No, what was it?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't really want to tell you." So, "Oh, well, okay. Well, now you got to tell me." And for the entire second half of the game, there was a parent that was going up and down the sideline and just swearing up a storm about every decision I made, just basically everything about me. And this guy knew what I was going through as well. And anyone with a brain knew that was my mom. Like, he was saying this stuff in front of my mom. And again, she's in a wheelchair right now, never going to see me coach again alive. And I'm struggling not to swear right now. It's actually the first time I've ever talked about this. And this guy just, again, a whole half, a half in a soccer is 45 minutes long. And this guy is just mouthing off the whole time. And obviously his kid wasn't playing very much. And what the guy didn't know or didn't feel like asking his kid, like, yeah, maybe I should have played him more. Kid came into preseason out of shape. Kid at the time of that game had skipped class for a week straight or maybe 2 weeks straight. So, like, I'm not saying, like, I get it. College is an investment. Like, you only get 4 years. So it matters. Like, those years, if you feel like your son's not getting treated right for that 1 year, like, yeah, you can be a little bit annoyed, but give me a damn break. My dying mom's right there watching me coach for the last time, and you're complaining that your kid's not getting enough minutes when your kid's not going to class, he's not in shape, and quite frankly, didn't belong on the field. So there's like all these reasons why he shouldn't have even been upset in the first place. But if he was upset, like, can we have a little bit of like human decency? And so, of course, my mom heard this, everyone heard this, and people are like, "Are you going to go say something?" What am I going to say? What am I going to do? Cause a scene right here? I'm a 27-year-old head college coach. 27-year-olds don't get these jobs very often. So I have to be the bigger man instead of this parent who's just, I don't know, it just blew my mind. And that can kind of lead us into our next subject here, where we kind of talk about, just youth sports in general. Because I feel like this personal instance, like, I feel like kind of the way youth sports are structured here in the United States. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. Like, Eric, you're a club coach. AAU coach, whatever you want to call it. Like, there's full-time job. Like, that's good. Me and Dave are college coaches. But if you look abroad, and I'll use soccer as an example here, if you look at like England, all the club coaches are paid by the professional teams. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I'll try to, obviously it's mostly Americans that are listening to our show. It'd be like the Boston Red Sox have financing all the U10 through U18 club teams in the greater Boston area, if that makes sense. A little bit cloudy logic there, but I'm trying to Americanize how it works in other countries. So I think I think it's a real challenge here in the United States, kind of dealing with this parent dynamic right now, because they are shelling out a lot of money, not just for club, also for college playing as well. And so I just feel like there's a massive sense of entitlement right now, and I don't know where it's going to stop or when it's going to end. And it's kind of getting, again, I've only been a head college coach now for 6 years, but I'm seeing it get worse and worse. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I'm curious, Greg, overseas, a clarifying question. With the higher clubs paying for the coaches, are they paying for the players too, or are those parents and players shelling out money to play on these club teams overseas?
They're paying. So it's all set up to kind of make the top teams better, like build homegrown talent.
Okay, so so those kids, so you could have kids from any different background coming in, poor, rich, whatever, and they don't have to pay for things or worry about that. Yeah. Whereas in America, if you want to be serious about playing a lot of these club teams, you also have to have parents that can financially afford it, because it is a massive commitment, it's massive time, and it's a lot of money. And, like America, I mean, I feel like we have a lot of sports like this, like lacrosse. We did I think they sponsored one of our episodes about, their privilege. I mean, you'll never hear things you'll never hear. You'll never hear a poor person say, I'm running late for lacrosse practice. Like, you'll just never hear that. And you have like these club teams and everything where, again, you have to have money to play in these. And a lot of people that have these money, a lot of people that come from this constant line of privilege that don't recognize or acknowledge it. And then they feel like their kid is the best thing in the world and that their input is important because, again, they've never faced any type of adversity really in their life for a lot of these parents. And they're like, okay, I'm going to chip in and I'm going to say what needs to happen. And it's a massive, it's basically what you're asking, because this is the structure of our system of American sports. Does America have an entitlement problem?
I don't think there's a way to change it because of the way our professional ranks are structured. So it's like really easy to like villainize the club programs, but at the same time, like if you want your kid to be a good athlete and the kids that want to be good athletes, they need the top level coaches. Eric Wells can't do that for $25 a week. Like it's got to be a job. So I think there's, if you look at like, and I was doing some reading about this kind of all week, so I knew we were going to talk about this. And you see like media's like, here's a TD Ameritrade did this study. 2 out of 10 families are paying more than $1,000 a month for one kid to play youth sports. That's more than $12,000 a year. Yeah. If my math is correct. Yeah. But I don't know another way to do it. Like if we're not the best people can't volunteer their time, you can't live volunteering.
No. And that's what I was saying. It's the, oh, sorry, Eric.
No, go ahead.
It's the structure of like just American society of like capitalism and how we approach businesses. Like Jerry Jones isn't going to pour, and also the draft and clubs and everything, they're not going to pour millions of dollars into youth programs where that person can go to a different college and then sign everywhere. Like that's part of the programs in other countries, if I'm not mistaken. When you're in those clubs, like they also get rights to you.
But I think,
sign and things like that.
I think in the youth sports, we have a lot of coaches, baseball especially. Like I could have not played baseball ever and gotten hired because there's no class to take. There's no license. There's no anything. And I think a big issue that we're having at the club level, for instance, my club is the Seacoast Pirates. We're based out of the Seacoast area, New Hampshire. We used to be Seacoast United. We're one of the largest baseball programs in New England. We've got over 300 kids for the past 7 years. This is my 8th year. And everybody that made up this program to start it with, we were all Division III baseball players. Our director, Scott Dubbin, myself, Corey Andreessen, Jeff Carter, like we were the first 4 full-time guys, and a couple of them have moved on to do some other things. And we've gotten a couple other guys that have actually turned out to be ex-Division III baseball players. I think we have that mentality. It didn't come easy to us. And so we push our kids. Like any of my kids listening to this, like they should comment right now, like, Coach Eric gets mad and but I hold him accountable and everything. And that's what we've built our program on. I mean, we didn't have a ton of great players. And so we worked and worked and worked. You get a lot of these guys that were ex MLB, ex Division I, where it came really easy for them. And like a lot of these ex MLB guys, they've got their signing bonus or they've got what they, were paid and they were smart with their money. And they're not looking to go work a 9-to-5 job. They start a program, they throw their name in front of it. And, if there's a lot of ex-baseball, pro baseball players listen to this, this is real. I'm telling the truth. There's been multiple guys that I coach against that I'm like, wow, that guy played at LSU. They'll come out and, he played at LSU, got drafted by the Braves. And I'm like, your team sucks. What do you teach them? I mean, seriously, but it's a work ethic thing. And then on top of that, so many programs, we call them social media programs. They'll video a kid. They'll get them to throw the ball as hard as they can one time. It'll register at 90. It was from 50 feet away, which for anybody that knows at the 13 and older level, you throw from 60 feet away on the mound. And they throw it online. Well, you can't tell if it's 50 or 60 feet away. You get an exit velo on a hitting simulator. And it's like, oh, this guy, and these guys push them and they're like, you're going to play this. You're going to play this. You're D1, you're a potential pro. Kids buy into it. Parents buy into it. And
all right, hold on. I want to stop you right there because that, as you are saying something, kind of brings something to mind here. And this is, so I think obviously no one likes the cost of club sports. Sure. I'll call it right now, a necessary evil. Because if we're going to have good sports teams and players are going to get the opportunities they want, right now, the way everything's structured here is not changing anytime soon. We've made that clear. But one of the issues I run into, and I could be being very biased right now and selfish because of the level I'm coaching at right now at the Division III college ranks, is the pressure I see, or I'd say maybe the over involvement in some of the AAU and club programs when it comes to where kids should commit for colleges, or maybe that's not even the topic I want, but kind of false promises, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. I think the false promise thing is huge because it's real easy. If I promise a kid he should go to LSU, he's been the best player on my team for say 6-7 years, from a young kid, and LSU doesn't want him, I could be like, well, I don't know what that guy sees. People you can essentially brainwash people. We're the type of program that's going to tell you the truth. And honestly, we lose some kids because of it. However, the kids that go to college normally come back after 4 years of whatever division they play. And they're like, we were prepared. We understood how to work hard. We weren't expected to be given everything. It's hard as a club coach. You guys want to form relationships as college coaches, no doubt. You want them to come back and remember you. But you don't go to college thinking you're going to have your head coach turn into your friend. You're around them for 4-5 years at the most, and they're already young men. We get these guys at 8, 9, 10 years old, and you fall in love with them. But then mom and dad, because Dave said it perfect to start with, they've made our top team for 4 or 5 years, and then they don't, and you were the best thing ever. And now you're not, and they go someplace else. And there's so many travel teams. Back when Dave and I played, it was very, very prestigious to play. And I know I'm kind of going against what I do for a profession. We're giving kids an opportunity to play, and that's what we do at our program. If you want to see what my paycheck is, everybody that thinks I'm out there stealing money, I'll be glad to show you every month. But it's one of those where there's so many strings attached from over-involved parents where I'm very lucky. There's always one in a crowd, right? I'm very lucky at our program that we've set a precedent. And I think people that are like that, I don't even think they have their kid try out, regardless of how good they are. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they eventually get found out because they're going to call a guy like Dave, and Dave's going to be like, have you ever worked? Have you ever had any hardship as far as sports goes, regardless of how much money? Have you ever had to work for anything? And I think that's what is really hurting NCAA sports. You've got a ton of athletes and a ton of kids that are actually prepared for college athletics.
Yeah. And I wanted to add, because one of the things you're saying is a lot of these false promises in America, because it's so big and there's so many club teams from everywhere in different programs, there are so many big fishes in small ponds, like just scattered across the country, where they're in these club teams, where they're in these things, and they've been told they're the best. Oh, you're the best, you're going to make it. And it's like, you're the best in Centralia, Washington. Like that is nothing. Like that is nothing when you go to Tacoma, to Seattle, to a bigger city. And when you have these smaller areas where it's like, oh yeah, I'm the best. You're like, you're the best here, but you can't compete with these people. And I liked what you said about how you're kind of honest with people. Cause I mean, you've seen talent, you've done this for a long time, and you can kind of set a precedent of what they can expect. But when there's a lot of people, like you said, anyone can coach. Like you can have people without that experience coaching these club teams that think they're like, oh, this person's the real deal, but they haven't even seen the real deal in person. They haven't competed against the real deal. So they're giving these parents and these kids these false promises, these false expectations. And then when they get out of this bubble, this smaller bubble, to something bigger, they get swallowed up.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll ask you, Dave, like, I'm not hallucinating here when I say that people are the over-promising game is like huge. And for me, like it ends up ultimately hurting my recruiting because people say, oh, why do you want to go to that college? I see it all the time. And then I see kids sign with a school and I'm just like, man, that school's got a 28% graduation rate. Like, what are you doing? Why are you sending that kid there? Oh, we got a little bit more financial aid package. Oh, coach said he's got 10 guys to go to the MLS last year. Literally had a coach say that. School's never had someone go to the MLS before. And I don't know. I think it's a major problem right now.
Yeah, I think, there's obviously a lot of topics that we just discussed. And I do think there's a benefit of youth sports too. Let's face it, Greg, like our colleges are, a large amount of money. We're recruiting from these places that are paying $2,000 a summer. And, I'm not saying that is okay. Like, I'm not getting into that topic. But the reality is, like, I can't go recruit at the, local youth game down the road.
Legion doesn't think anymore.
Right. Like, I need to go recruit the Seacoast kid that pays a little bit more for summer. I need to go recruit, Diamond Jacks in New Jersey that pays, X amount of dollars a summer. So there's a lot of different topics from there. I think there's a major issue with coaches caring more about their own Twitter tagline. Yes. I wish there would be something about their graduation rates of places that they sent kids. Like put that in your tagline. Like how many transfers have you had? And obviously there's a whole transfer portal that we can have, again, a whole discussion on, but I just think that there's a lot of issues. I don't think that I think licensing isn't everything, because I look at this, and Greg, way more from soccer. There's guys with A licenses who know nothing and just have a little more money. And then I know when we worked at, a place like Southern Vermont, like, hey, that place doesn't have all the money to get you a B license or a C license. So I don't think that's the answer either. I don't know what the answer is. But a lot of it comes down to our society being as selfish as it is too.
And like Greg said, this isn't going away. As long as we have parents, as long as we have parents paying thousands of dollars for their kids to play club sports or to send them to college, they're going to have an opinion. But when we make sports affordable in this nation, like for all the kids, to where it's a level playing field for everyone, that's the only really way to get rid of it, because they're not going to feel like they have this entitlement that they come in. And if they do, people are going to shrug them off, because these parents do have power over the coaches. When they start talking with other parents, when they start talking about pulling, $35,000, $40,000 in tuition, like that can get sway when you get other parents on board. And when you take away that affordable option, that money option, you can help get rid of some of this entitlement piece. But again, that's not the country we live in.
I will say this though too. A benefit of youth sports is you have a lot of kids who care way more about athletics too. Because they are playing with a guy like Eric since they're 9 years old or 8 years old. So now they really care. A lot of it comes down to administration too. If you have really good administration, they don't listen to the parents as much, right? And I've worked for both sides of it. I've worked for an administration that the parents had a say on everything, and I'm thankful now I work for an administration that, they have the coaches back, and that changes. I don't think it's all an affordability piece, because community colleges deal with the same thing. There's just as many parents from that standpoint that are complaining about their coaches too. So
yeah, sometimes
you make great points, but I'm just saying that the money doesn't solve everything.
Isn't it funny now that it's shocking to hear 2 college coaches say parents go to an administration and complain. Like, I didn't say to high school, right? I coach at Marshwood High School in Maine, where like it's a high school, you still are living with mom and dad. Like, parents feel like they can email the athletic director and get away with it. Like, something is going to change. And the first thing, I just had the conversation with my 17s this week. If you think your college coach is going to listen to your parents because we practice at 6:30 in the morning every Sunday, like, you guys are going to practice at 6 a.m. every day when you get back in January. You want to know why? Because you don't have basketball time in the afternoone. The only gym time for baseball going back, unless you have like turf facilities and a really nice facility, like, is probably going to be at the gym, right? Or come south, like shout out Stevenson University, like anybody wants to look it up. But like, seriously, parents do think they have it. I kind of take that, I call it an insurance policy for me. You better, like, you can come to me. I have an open door policy. You better hope your kid hasn't struck out 10 out of his last 12 at bats. Like, if you come to me and maybe I screwed up and I haven't gotten in the playing time, and for some reason I'm having a bad couple weeks, and like he's hitting like 400 and we're scoring 1 run a game and he's got 10 at bats, I should probably give him a shot. But if your kid has struck out 20 times in the first 10 games and has made 4 or 5 errors at third base, and you come and say, why hasn't he played third base in 3 games? Like, I'm still paying so much amount of money. I'm going to be like, have you seen him play third base? He's not a third baseman. Like, if he can't play at our level, he can't go on to college and play. And so I think I try to do that for myself. Does it work all the time? No. Do those people leave? Absolutely. Do I sleep at night? 100%. I sleep probably better that night. But it's unbelievable to think that parents think they have an opportunity to go talk to somebody in a college environment and think that there's going to be change. It's incredible.
The mentality from privilege to right has been really mind-boggling to me. Like I tell our guys, like, look, it's not your roster spot here is not a right. Like, if we can cut you for whatever reasons, like, but it's a privilege, have that jersey on it. But people think like they're entitled to it. And honestly, I'd say 90% of the time, like, the players get it.
Oh, for sure.
It's the families that don't. And
yes.
It's the parents that are all complaining about participation trophies that don't get it, and the kids that got them their whole lives that understand the concept.
Don't even get me started on that correlation. I once coached a youth team, and someone would every night when we'd go out after games or something, when we host tournaments, never participation trophies. First tournament we hosted, team came in second, and sure enough, he went out, hardware store or whatever, and got a trophy for the team. And it's like, what? Like, I don't. He's like, well, we came in second place. I'm like, man, you just bought that yourself. Like, what are you doing? So, I wanted the kids to feel good. I'm like, what happened to every conversation we've ever had about this topic? I don't know. Sorry, Dave, I cut you off there.
No. I was just going to say that when your kids commit there, and Eric, you'll see, I'm sure you have kids that commit places. They don't put on their Twitter, so happy to have a starting role at Northland College or Stevenson University. Yeah. And so, like, their goal is solely focused on going to Northland, and they're so happy. And then it changes once they get here, and they just keep moving the goalposts. And we do this in life, is like, I get this job, and then, now this job doesn't have this, and now this doesn't have this. And, like, that's just the way our society is, and it's why these parents, they tell their buddies at the bar that their kid's going to Stevenson, and they're so happy that they're going to get a Stevenson degree. And then they got to go back to their buddies and tell them that, hey, little Johnny is sitting the bench. What happened to last year when you were so happy that he was just going to Stevenson? And that's just a major flaw of ours.
The kids get it. Like, you're right. Like, the kids get it. I mean, I've been around so many great kids that you can push, that you can, talk to. They listen. Yeah. Once in a while that doesn't mesh with you. But I always say, like, if you want to help your kid, if he just got reamed out, like, after a game because of whatever, don't get in the car and bitch about his teammates. Like, don't get in the car and bitch about the team being bad or how they played or what the coach did. Like, you don't think the kid knows? Like, you don't think the kid knows he played bad? Or how do you think that kid feels when, especially in a high school setting, they've grown up with these kids? Those are their friends. Like, and you're going to get, and it just creates a toxic environment. And that entitlement is like, it's always there, but the kids 95% of the time get it.
Agreed. All right, I'm going to move us along here. We got to talk about Philip's favorite sport here for a little bit while we got the two baseball coaches. As he gets up and walks away. I want to talk a little bit about baseball here. We got you guys on here. Before I kind of go in what I really want to talk about baseball, Fernando Tatis Jr. Remember growing up watching his dad. I remember his MLB Showdown card, which Philip, I think you might appreciate, one of the greatest card games ever made.
Undefeated.
This dude just signed a $340 million contract, longest in baseball history, I believe. Is this? I mean, this reminds me of some of the hockey contracts I used to see getting signed, where guys were signing 10+ year deals, and it just seemed like comical. Is this going to be like a thing here? I remember A-Rod's contract was absurd back when he signed with the Yankees.
And Mike Trout's contract was huge too, wasn't it? Wasn't that 10 years?
12.
Are we going to see this more often? In your guys' opinion, is this good GM work here?
Well, they just can restructure them so easy. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, because it's 24 mil in 12 years. 24 mil is not going to be like, I mean, it's going to, so they're just going to restructure it. I mean, these players can sit out so easily. I mean, you're watching players in the NFL that have 3 years left on their contract demand trades. Like, so it's going to happen the same way in baseball. So, yeah, they might as well sign for 12 years. And if they get hurt or stink, at least they're going to get their money.
I feel like these mega deals don't end well often, though. Like, I know A-Rod's towards the end. I mean, the Yankees.
You had A-Rod, you had Pujols. I mean, Mike Trout's the best player in the game, but has he ever been to the playoffs? He hasn't, right? So
once
I mean,
maybe.
don't get me wrong. Yeah, maybe. I don't remember it if he did. But, like, the Padres are obviously contenders now, right? Like, they've got a lot of guys. I mean, they made the playoffs last year. They've even picked up some more arms this year. But like, you're going to stay at a place for 14 years? I mean, I feel like Pedroia did he just retired? He was probably the last guy that stayed someplace, and probably before that was Jeter. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot. And I'm thinking more of along the lines of, like, Mike Trout's thinking, because I've always wondered, like, how is he not in Boston? Or how is he not in a contender every year, right? Or a potential contender.
Philly. He's from Philly.
How is he not in Philadelphia?
This is why the NBA had to change just their whole salary structure, because you had these GMs, like, where they put max contracts and things. Before that, you could just sign a player for what he was worth, like baseball. Like, Shaq had a 7-year contract. KG had a long contract. And what happened is, and I think this is what's happening in baseball with these long contracts, you always have 1 or 2 GMs that are going to do this 10 or 12 years or 7 years, and it makes it that these other teams that want them have to meet it. They have to move it up, because you have, and Greg, like you said, is this incompetent GMs? And I would say so, because that's what happened to the NBA, where they had that amnesty clause so teams could get rid of a bad contract that they signed. And now they restructured it to where you have these maxes and super maxes and things that make no sense for players, where LeBron James or these other best players in the league are getting paid the same as like Mike Conley, who's one of the highest paid players in the league at one point. He hasn't made an all-star appearance, and he was getting the same as LeBron. So the NBA, I mean, that's another subject. I think they should totally get rid of that. But I wonder, this is my question for baseball, do you feel like the owners at some point, because of these contracts are getting so out of hand or continue to go this way, will try to structure something like basketball to save themselves from themselves?
Go ahead, Dave. You know more about this.
I mean, they might, but as long as you have the Yankees are always going to, I mean, there's no salary. Like, all right, great. They pay a salary tax. Great. They don't care. Like, and that's what's happened. I mean, look at the Dodgers right now. They just went on, and they pay whoever they want to pay, right? They pay Bauer, they pay anybody. And it just, so yeah, I mean, I guess if you want a level playing field, maybe.
Well, what is Fernando Tatis' agent doing? California is pretty high with tax, right? Like, he's only making $170 million.
God, poor guy.
Hold on, there's one other.
Yeah, but like 300. But you're talking like 340 million, and you're making 100. I mean, he's well under what a lot of guys are per year for the amount of years that he's got to play for San Diego. He's under by a lot.
maybe he's going to have some of it paid in Bitcoin, like Russell King, the lineman. So hold on. One other thing about Fernando Tatis. You mentioned his agent's contract. How did you guys feel about the uncovering of kind of the deal he signed before he made it when he was in the minors? Do you guys know about this? Okay. I was curious if you guys know. I think it's called Big League Advance. It's basically a hedge fund for potential future star athletes. Basically, like there's been a couple minor league players that have done it. And basically, this company is willing to give them an advance in $50,000 increments while they're in the minors, up to $500,000 in exchange for 1% of all their future contract earnings.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so
They just made it pretty well.
They just made $34 million on a $500,000 investment. And now, Grant, I don't know how often they've struck out per se, but I'm kind of curious if this is going to become more of a normal thing. Because I mean, Dave, your brother's working his way through the minor leagues. It's not exactly contracts aren't huge in the minors. That's fair to say, right?
No, they make $2,500 a month. They can barely afford their meals.
Yeah, so I'm kind of wondering if this is actually going to be a thing. But I was also, I mean, you guys said like what was Fernando Tatis's agent thinking signing in California? What was he thinking signing that deal? Giving up 30 what? I don't even know the math on that. $500,000 becoming a 34 million. I mean, what's your return on investment there? 10,000%? I got no idea. So you guys actually really didn't know that? I'm kind of curious how like under the radar that is in baseball.
I had no idea.
So MLB restructured deals like, I don't know, 10 years ago, because it used to be you could negotiate at draft day, and then now it's all minor leaguers make the same until they make the big leagues or until they make the 40-man. I didn't know that was part of the.
I have a serious baseball question. Can they flip bats yet?
Yes.
This is the only thing I care about, and like I will pay more attention to baseball when they're allowed to flip their bats and celebrate. Like if I hit a home run on someone, I would ride that thing like a horse, like to first base. Like that would be my thing. If I hit a home run, I'd ride it around.
There's a difference you don't understand is if a guy does it down 8-0 or up 8-0, like he hits a bomb and he flips a bat and everything, like you're gonna get hit. You do it in the playoffs, like Batista did a couple years ago, like walk-off home run or whatever it was. He lets that thing fly into the 6th row. Like if you're up 8-0, I'm telling you as a coach right now, I'm gonna get in so much trouble if I have any parents listening to this. I don't care what age the kid is. If I'm getting my butt kicked and somebody bat flips on me, the next kid is getting one where it's not gonna feel good. Anybody can take that, like as it is. I'm not going to say where in the body, but like they're going to get it.
You know who you should be mad at? You should be mad at your pitcher for throwing trash.
Agreed. Like, that's what I agree.
They be able to bat flip. You know what? If they're hitting home runs and celebrating because they're proud of hitting a home run, like great. If you want to bean someone for that, it's like okay, good. Help their on base percentage. That's going to help their stats. And
hold on. On the youth level, I can see 8-0 get like. There's no reason to celebrate going up 10-12-0 at that point. So I get it. But at the professional level, where these pitchers across the board are at the height of their profession, if you let up a home run, like it's on you. Throw better. Youth level, okay, I'm willing to give you a little bit there. You can get mad. At the professional level, it's like, man, you're throwing garbage. Like how
it all equals out though. I mean, like the guy that's in the game down 11-0 in the 8th inning. I guarantee there's 100 other pitchers in the minors that are just as good as him.
I had a lot of outings when we were down by a lot of runs when I was a college pitcher.
You started a lot of outings that are the reason we were down a lot of runs.
Eric, where's the threshold of bat flips, right? Like it's up 4-0. Like when can you appropriately flip the bat and how high?
If you put the game away, like you're putting it away.
Can
like
you ride the bat around the bases?
I don't care what you do if it's a big home run. Trust me. Like I've had plenty of home runs hit for me where like they're coming around and I love it. But I'm just saying, like in the grand scheme of things, it's just all over sports. Like you all watch sports. The guy at the end of the game for basketball down 20 steals the ball and goes and dunks it. You want to know what should happen? That dude should be bull rushed by everybody on the other team. Like,
Game's not over.
Yeah,
Game's not over.
X my
Play to the
face
whistle.
out of this. I don't want to be on this video.
No, I think baseball would be so much entertaining if whenever someone cranked one and hit a home run, they could like celebrate. They could have like a routine, a dance routine, like a touchdown in the NFL. Like I want to see people going wild. I think it's more entertaining. I think it gets like people more engaged in the sport. I'm all for it. Like at any level, like when you hit a home run, like there should be massive celebrations, like people doing Gangnam Style all the way to home plate. Like I don't care. I want to see it. This unwritten rule that you can't flip a bat because it's disrespectful is.
But it's not an unwritten rule where you can't like be the leadoff hitter and hit a home run to like lead the game off and flip your bat. Like there's only going to be problems the rest of the game. Like there's so much more baseball to be played. And to be honest with you, a lot of managers and coaches don't want to see like something stupid like that because it's not you that ends up getting hit. It's the next guy.
That's a free on base. That's even better.
But I'm saying you got to flip the bat. You got to flip the bat. You feel great. I'm the one that takes it in the ear hole. I'm not going after the pitcher. I'm immediately running into the dugout after.
No, I just got you a single. I just got you on base.
That's not
I just helped your percentage. Well, I just got a single's hard to get. People bat like what 300, like 33%, and you're going to give me a free on base. Get out of here. Take it every day.
All right, next topic here about baseball.
I'm gonna give Eric an aneurysm.
My kids are in bed. It's 11 o'clock. They're like, "What the hell is going on?"
All right, last.
All of Eric's kids flip your bats.
Last topic here before we move on to the stuff at the end. The shift in baseball. I've read that some people want it done. They want some restrictions or some sort. I guess I'll just ask this: Are hitters simply too stubborn to adjust, or is it more complex?
It's a very pointless conversation at the major league level because those guys are trying to hit home runs. They're not trying to hit ground balls, so it really doesn't matter. I think 5 years ago when the shifts first came out, I was more of in the camp of shifts or why are we doing this? Why are we changing the game? I was more in the camp of don't ever bat flip. Now I'm more, if you lead off and you want to bat and you bat flip, well then get us out type deal. If our pitcher makes a big out. But I think if we do scouts in every sport, if a quarterback always looks right, then we're gonna put the stronger defender on his right side. So do the same thing in baseball. Hitters need to adjust. Like you got to be able to hit the ball and control your barrel. So
has the shift kind of led to, because I don't know, I feel like on base used to be a little bit more valued maybe 8, 6, 7 years ago. And you guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like the kind of all or nothing swings have become more and more prevalent over maybe the last 5 years. Like, is that directly because of the shift, or is it just a total mindset change where people are like, man, it's much easier to go around the entire base path at once than working your way around it?
It's a hitting mindset. I mean, everyone's more into the drive the ball, the fly ball matters more because the doubles and the home runs and slugging percentage have increased at that level. So no one's trying to hit ground balls. I think 10, 15 years ago, everything was a middle away swing, ground ball, backside. Whereas now, like it's not like that anymore. It's grip and rip, pull the front shoulder and get on plane and drive it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the shift isn't about is it right or wrong in the major leagues. It's what hurts youth sports. It's like what's hurting youth baseball, because Josh Donaldson, one time I listened to an interview of him, he said if a little league coach tells your kid to hit the ball on the ground, you don't listen to him. Like, don't listen to him. Okay, Josh Donaldson's exit velo, like when he hits the ball and he hits it on the barrel, is like 112 miles an hour. So it doesn't matter if he just gets under the ball, whatever millimeter at 112, that ball is a home run. There are none, and I mean none, especially when the game starts to get like the 13U level, when it really gets hard. I mean, at 12, you got those donkeys. But you teach the kids the wrong way. And so every parent watches Josh Donaldson's interview and says, I want my kid to hit like that. And guess what? All of the, not us, but all of the programs, the youth programs, the travel programs, they buy into, I'll get this kid on a hit tracks machine and I'll get him to swing up and he's going to crush the ball. It's going to go 320 feet. It's going to be a higher exit velo. And then he hits $150 because he flies out 47 times that season and strikes out 30. That's the issue of the shift. Is it's changed the approach of the major leaguers, which has trickled all the way down into our game. And my guys will tell you, like, go ahead, you can hit the ball in the air if you're slow and you can hit the ball in the air. But like, if you've got speed, like, know your game. If you can run and you don't have the power, that doesn't mean you're a bad baseball player. But that's where the major leagues right now is making you feel like, I'm a bad baseball player. Like, I can't hit a home run. I'm a bad baseball player. Go watch Vanderbilt. Like, listen to Tim Corbin talk. He's not talking launch angle, and he's got the best players every single season. Like, he's got guys that can run, hit. Like, he wants all-around hitters with maybe a guy or two in his lineup that can go pop 20 a year.
Every youth baseball player needs to watch college baseball. College baseball season came back this weekend. Turn the game on, watch ESPN, invest in SEC Network, ACC Network, and watch college baseball.
100%.
Well, there it is. Youth baseball players watch college baseball. I actually agree. Used to enjoy watching Sam Fold for Stanford back in the day.
Big hire over at the Phillies now.
I don't know. I was hoping he was going to get the Red Sox job. I might have become a fan again. I've been on a Red Sox hiatus after they ran Pedro Martinez out of town. Although I really pinned that on the media, but
Loser.
It is what it is. All right, a couple final things here at the end. Obviously, we have some trivia coming up, and we do have our Undeliverable Award of the Week, as always, sponsored by UPS. That's up next. Philip, I actually have an award.
I was gonna defer to you this week, Greg.
Defer to me. All right, our Undeliverable Award of the Week, as always, sponsored by UPS, the ones you can never rely on when you need or count on to deliver your thing on time. I am going to give this week's Undeliverable Award to UPS because last week, and I sent you guys, did I send you a picture for evidence?
Yeah.
I don't remember if I did. Anyways, I had a package on my doorstep. It was not addressed to me. It was not addressed to anyone on the same street. It was not addressed to anyone on the same half of my end of town. And it was actually a respiratory device. So I think whoever this was supposed to go to, I think it was actually pretty important. And it was, I'll get to that in a moment.
How did you know it was a respiratory?
It was from, like, I looked at the company.
Okay.
It was like a very like respiratory LLC or whatever. I don't remember, but it was very obvious. Okay. And I wasn't thinking so I brought it into the post office and I was like, hey, this isn't me. Like, can you make sure you get this where it needs to go? And they're like, oh yeah, of course. And as I walk out, I'm halfway across the street going back to my car and I hear, hey, mister. And I was like, what? And this guy who I hadn't talked to at the counter, he's like, hey, like, this isn't us. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, we didn't deliver this. He's like, are you like, you don't live here? I'm like, no. And he's like, sounds like this was delivered by UPS. And then I look closer and I'm like, yep, there it is. So
Greg, yeah. I don't know how you didn't connect those dots immediately that it was UPS.
I know. Shame. I never see them in town. So I guess they just got lost. It's not even close. Like the numbers that I live at and the street I live at, there's no correlation. There's no like geography that would someone literally had to like just be walking along and throw it over the head.
I think that was playoff P. Paul George was delivering that package.
Oh, so yeah, congratulations UPS. You sponsored the award and you have now won the award. All right. Before our final segment here, I just want to remind everyone, whether you listen on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, again, where this is a podcast, it's on all major podcast platforms, but you can also be sure to subscribe to our Patreon. You get early access to all content. You can choose topics and you can also be on the show. Again, that's for all Patreon subscribers. Also, we do this show live now. It's live on Facebook and it's live on YouTube. When it is live, you can comment along live. And again, as you might have seen, if you are watching right now, I can pull those comments onto the screen. For example, this one is from Keegan Quimby earlier saying, Phil on fire right now. Yep. And then we have Packers super fan back here, Mike Lennon. Again, he's been on the show before. So again, be sure to catch us live. Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern time is the soccer hour. Mondays, 10 o'clock is just our normal Coast to Coast show. All right, final segment here is trivia. And you'll notice a theme with some of these. Before I launch into our first trivia question here, I did mention this last week. Last week, one of the questions was name the sport that was used in an iconic SNL skit, and it was a Olympic sport. And and I said, I bet there's one person that would get this right away, and I guessed Gary Gilmore. And sure enough, my phone was ringing, and it was my dad, and he said, I got it. He said he knew it right away. So I think he's listening live. Again, if you know the answer to any of these questions, be sure to comment. I'll pull it onto the screen.
Gary might be asleep in his chair right now.
Yeah, it is late over there on the East Coast. All right, first question. What team did Babe Ruth play for before joining the Red Sox? I'm like checking the comment question now, or comment area right now.
I'm going to defer to the baseball coaches.
Oh, I didn't know this. I thought it was just Red Sox. Then
Is it the Braves?
Can I guess Milwaukee?
Nope and nope.
Really?
Yeah.
The
It's kind of a little bit of a trick question.
Hang on, what's a good
understanding the answer right? My guess was the Braves. Actually, I took this question on a quiz, so I got it wrong as well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Correct answer is the Baltimore Orioles. Ruth was signed right out of Mount St. Mary's, where he was a student. And yeah, they liked him as a pitcher over in Baltimore. His first contract was for $250 a month.
Nice.
So Baltimore liked him as a pitcher, so they were making mistakes way back then too, huh?
Some things just never change.
His pitching stats were unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, different game back then as well.
They could throw underhand.
In 1929, what feat did Lee Richmond perform in Major League Baseball? And it was the first time this ever happened.
I don't like this theme.
So hold on, I'm going to give you think about it.
Feat?
I said what feat did he perform? Like, I'm not talking about human feat. I mean, what major accomplishment occurred for the first time?
Oh, I'm going to say in the park
baseball.
home run.
Not a bad guess.
Okay.
On the right track, kind of.
The cycle.
Okay, not as on the right track as I thought.
Threw a no-hitter.
Dave's the closest. It was the first perfect game. Richmond
I was
struck
gonna
out
go
5, allowed only 3 balls to be hit out of the infield. And remarkably, one of his 27 outs was when the right fielder threw the batter out from first base. What a way to preserve a perfect game. The classic throw him out at first from the outfield. All right, we're going to make it a little more modern here. And Philip, I promise they won't all be baseball questions, but they will all be pretty damn close to baseball questions.
Okay, all right. Ichiro.
I forgot to fact check this one, so if it's off, I apologize. I'm pretty sure it's accurate, though. In 2000, the MLB average earned run average, meaning like the aggregate ERA for the entire league, was 4.92. 4.92. What starting pitcher had a 1.74 ERA and a .737 whip? This is 2000.
Randy Johnson.
One guess.
Pedro Martinez.
One guess is in for Pedro Martinez. We're waiting on Eric. Forgot the Jeopardy music again. Kurt Schilling. Incredibly, the only person that got this one right is the non-baseball coach in the chat. The correct answer was Pedro Martinez.
Eric, this is for you. Check it out.
And we have a pen flip.
I feel like that was all a setup right there. The answer.
I was a little bit nervous when I brought up my Pedro comment earlier that I might have been giving that one away. But if you didn't, Pedro in his prime was one of the greatest. We did have a couple guesses here. Sorry, Tim. Greg Maddux was not the answer either. Not a bad guess, though. At least we were all in the right era at that time. Final question of the night. Who was the tallest player to ever play in the NBA? Thought someone was going to shout out the right answer right away.
I'm pretty sure it's Manute Bol.
That was my guess. Manute Bol.
One guess on Manute Bol.
Sure.
All three of you are correct. However, there is one other player that was listed at the same height as him. Do you know that one as well?
Sean Bradley.
Not a bad guess.
I feel like it's not because Sean Bradley is listed at 7'6", Manute Bol was listed at 7'7", Yao Ming was at 7'6" too, I think. And
in the wrong era right here.
What is
It's from Romania.
Is he on the Mavs right now?
He is not playing.
No.
Right now.
Okay. No, because I can't remember how Open is. I feel like George Marasan.
Correct. Tim Penrod beat you to it. Coming in from the comment section, George Merson. But that
I was like, who's the guy in Big Fish?
Answer. Manute Bol was from Sudan, played 10 seasons. Marasan played, actually, I don't know how many seasons. I didn't write that down. So sorry, I don't have an extra fun fact to add to that. But yeah, that's our trivia questions for tonight. Again, I'm looking forward to our social media manager, Keegan, throwing some of those up there as we get a surprising number of comments and views on those. One of them was already at 34,000. So pretty impressive. Again, all right, Dave, thanks for joining us as always. I know it's late over there in the East Coast. Eric and Phil, thanks for staying up with me as well. That's our show for this week. Again, Mondays, they usually be right around 10 o'clock Eastern time. Be sure to tune in. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your normal podcasts. We're on there. You can always watch the video recordings as well on Facebook and YouTube. And finally, be sure to subscribe to our Patreon. Again, early access to everything. You can be on the show, and you can also choose our topics. All right. Thank you for listening. Coast podcast is hosted by Greg Gilmore. That's me, Phil Marino. The show is produced and roughly edited by yours truly. Feedback, you can always reach us via email at talkcoasttocoastpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's talkcoasttocoastpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.